OnlyFans, influencers, sex work, PTs, all of the things. And I hold space, respect, and love all of them. My problem is, when did we become a society that only celebrates and only promotes and only follow and only basically spend our social currency with people and accounts and brands, in a sense, that promote some aspect of physicality versus intellect? Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Anything Goes with Anna Rose. Today is going to be a fun one, I think. It's a fun one. It is a necessary one. It is one where I am not sure where it will go. We all know that I am a hit record, spill my guts, speak my truth, and then it is literally not edited and it goes live. And no notes. There's like one episode, which was the power of saying no. That was like the first time that I've ever had some notes, because I literally wanted to give you, like, sometimes I forget, I'll get off a recording and I'm like, oh, I really wanted to say this. And I feel really bad because I'm like, oh, that would have served them. But I don't usually have notes. So that episode I did today, I do not. And 99.9% of the time I do not. However, this is a very necessary conversation that I am excited to have. It was one, I am literally just going to give you the exact truth and tell you where it's come from, the conversations that I had, and then we're going to get into it. But here's what I want to preface it and say. I'm definitely going to talk about, OnlyFans, influencers, sex work, PTs, all of the things. And I hold space, respect, and love all of them. My problem is that when and at what point as a society did we celebrate and objectify, in a sense, or glorify? It's not objectify whatsoever. When did we become a society that only celebrates and only promotes and only follow and only basically spend our social currency with people and accounts and brands, in a sense, that promote some aspect of physicality versus intellect? And the conversation I want to have with you today is two-pronged. Number one, it's to say that why can't we have both? And it's to deeply, and then number two, it is to deeply encourage a new way of hopefully you interacting online, that we can have both. And thirdly, it is a flat out, absolute, no shame, not promotion, but like promotion in a sense of myself as well. And so many other brilliant women, best friends included, that I know of, that do enormous, phenomenal, life-changing, unbelievable intellectual work in a multitude of different spaces that aren't ever celebrated. So it is self-promotion. It is absolutely holding the space to say both. It's not how dare we glorify them and not us. It's like, hey, go ahead and love them. And I totally get why you do, because some of them are hilarious and it's like brain dead stuff. And sometimes we need that. But if you are going to celebrate and follow and watch and give your social currency to them, hey, also, wouldn't it be powerful for the world and the future generations to celebrate the other side, which is the intellect? So allow me to explain. Days ago, a good friend, a gorgeous girlfriend, shared a podcast from, what is it called? Who's Your Daddy? Call Your Daddy? I don't know. Daddy. Call Your Daddy. Who's Your Daddy? I think it's Who's Your Daddy. And I know I sound really dumb. I think it is Who's Your Daddy. I literally had never heard of that girl either, which sounds insane, but you would be shooketh at how culturally aware I actually am of social pop culture. So I had not heard of Call Her Daddy. I need to get this right now. Hang on, I've got my phone. Whatever it is, Call Your Daddy. Until she had shared it. I'd seen this girl because she had also, this isn't actually who the episode's about, it's about someone she interviewed, but I had seen her because she obviously had interviewed Kamala. Thank God she's not in Harris. But other than that, Call Her Daddy. Okay, we're back. But yeah, I wasn't aware of the absolute pop culture fucking phenomenon that she is. And all power to her. Alex, I think her name is. Anyway, a beautiful, gorgeous girlfriend had shared a podcast of hers, and like really excitedly and beautifully and like whatever, correctly, her space had shouted this particular podcast out, and she never talks about podcasts. So I was like, oh, this must be a really good one. Like, who is this girl? And again, it wasn't the host. It was about who she was interviewing. So she's like, oh my God, best interview ever. So unhinged, brilliant, you know, something. I can't wait for her podcast to be released. It's going to be so unhinged, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I love Unhinged. Like, who is this girl? So anyway, and this is my personality type. So it's really funny. When Ryan met me, he's like, wow, you are deep. You are not surface level. Like, I will hear of something or find someone or know of something, and then within 5 minutes, it takes me a second, I've like got a beat of who they are. I've like looked at podcast episodes. I've like done a general check of their TikTok, all of their social media platforms. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm up to date. Right. And that's what happened with this. So I literally, I'm doing stuff around the house. I was like, and I listen, just so you know, to like 2 to 3 podcasts a day. If I'm on the move, typically podcasts are playing. I actually don't listen to that much music. So I chuck her podcast on, and within 10 minutes, and this is absolutely not a slight against my girlfriend, I messaged her and I said, explain this to me, young lady. Talk to me. Unpack this with me. I said, I am 10 minutes in. I don't understand. I said, you are a brilliant, intelligent, amazing woman. And what I've just listened to has literally made me dumber. With all due respect. And I'll tell you the interview. It was Hallie. Her name is like Hallie something. I don't know. And I said, anyway, so I've done a deep dive on this girl in the last 5 minutes. And I said, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm seeking to understand. I said, from what I can tell, and I loved her honesty. I said, she's a baddie, like for sure. She's funny because she's so radically honest. But I said, her fame is from, and this shook me. I was like, oh, she's not actually like an OnlyFans girl. I said, so her fame is from nothing. Like, I mean, her fame is literally from nothing. She's TikTok famous because her dad is really rich. Like, he's a something guy, a finance guy on Wall Street. So they've just got fuck you money, the family. And I said, she just talks about doing drugs, which she does. And again, good on her, and absolutely no judgment. I have lived that life. Doing drugs, fucking men, drinking alcohol, and living off her father's credit cards. And I said, and in my head, this is what triggered it for me. And when I say triggered, I mean, I wasn't triggered. Like, it triggered the whole, I really reflected on this. And this is where this podcast has come from. My friend has a little girl. And I thought, isn't that interesting? Because I thought, I wonder if when her little girl's older, if she would want her mum just like, because if I had little girls, when I have a little girl, if I'm blessed to have a little girl, I absolutely would not be wanting her to like listen to podcasts like that. Because I'm like, I don't need you listening to women celebrate, like be a whore. And she uses that term, and I love that. I have also worn that title for sure. I celebrate that. And I'm like, but I don't want my little girl looking at women getting fame from talking about fucking men doing drugs and gaining followers because she talks about it online and then brags, and I mean literally brags, about living off her daddy's money still. Anyway, and this is where I got really cool. Like, this is where I really did understand where my girlfriend was coming from. And so I said all this to her. Like, I had this conversation with her. And I said, so I'm trying to understand, like, why you follow a girl? Like, why do you love this girl? Because you really, like, spoke this girl up just now. Like, I was thinking she was, like, I don't know, did something or ran a company or something. She was like, I don't know. She's just really refreshing and really honest and super authentic. Like, you just don't get women like her at that level of like authenticity. Like, yeah, I fucked a guy last night, like did anal, like fuck, he had a small dick. Anyway, I was pretty fucking high. Like, that's how she talks, right? And again, power fucking to her. Absolutely no judgment. I got a giggle in the end, but I was like seeking to understand. And she said, she's just really honest, really authentic, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, beautiful. I understand that. I actually fully understand that in a world of absolutely like aesthetically pleasing, curated shit, which I don't vibe with either, you are drawn to radical authenticity. And I love that. And I'm like, roger that, got it. But here's where it got interesting for me. I then absolutely went and looked at her following. So I was curious. I'm like, what would a girl like that have in terms of a following, right? Here's a woman that, again, I just want to reiterate, and good on her, like fucking good on her, but literally does nothing, spends her days and her nights getting high, getting drunk, doing TikToks. She's 27, openly talks about, and again, good on her, because ultimately she's not on OnlyFans, so she fucks for free. So fucking men. She talks about famous guys sliding into her DMs, just like the parties she goes to. She's like, I just love to, like, this is why I fucking love billionaires, right? They know how to throw a party. Again, I'm sure they do, and I love that. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'd go to a billionaire's party, YOLO. But when I looked at it and I was like, here I am as a fucking sucker, right? And hear me out. A woman who literally 7 days a week, hours in a day, my life is committed to serving women, teaching them how to earn more, how to move better, how to eat better, how to love better, how to fuck better, how to and from an educational, motivational, inspirational perspective, I'm also a woman who charges prices that absolutely are accessible to everyone, for example. And it's a hill that I die on, and I'm pulled up on it all the time from other coaches and friends, and charge more. And I'm like, no, because it's about impact for me. It's not about income. So I'm saying as well, there's other coaches as well who might charge. I had an email the other day. She's charging $60,000 for like 3 months, which is fucking mind blowing. Again, power to her. But, and it is a but, it's not an and. Here we are as a society. So this Hallie girl had over 1 million followers. I think it's more now, but like 1 million plus on TikTok, hundreds of thousands on Instagram. And people love it. And I love people love it. She's come up for me now, obviously more because I'd looked into her a little bit. So she was in like my search page and stuff. So I clicked on some more things, and I'm like, I get the attraction of just the radical honesty and like, fuck, I can't believe she said that. And I was like, I love that. I love a woman like that can get online and amass 1 million followers for doing nothing, being no one, in a sense, and I mean that with absolute respect. But when you spend your days literally sleeping to party all night, to do drugs, to fuck and drink alcohol and live off your dad and be proud of that and have your literally fame from that, and women, probably not you listening, maybe you listen, and I love it if it is, follow and are obsessed and promote her shit, right? Share her shit on Insta. That's how I found her. And I was like, but a woman, and I'll use myself as an example because it is fucking powerful. And I said, absolutely self-promotion. And this is the hill, this is the gripe that I have in the rant that I wanted to go on. A woman like myself who dedicates her life to helping women essentially to be more and to have more and to love more and to earn more and to be more, and like to eat better, to fuck, all of those things from a super healthy, super intellectual, educational, inspirational, motivational perspective. 17,000, almost 18,000 followers on Instagram. Haven't fucked with TikTok yet, but one day. And it blew my mind. And Katie, another best friend, if you follow me, you know all my besties, but Katie had called me that morning. I'd just finished the podcast. I'd had this epiphany, and Katie called me and she was like, hey sis, we're just checking in for like work to do for that day. And she goes, how's your morning been? I said, oh, really interesting. I said, oh, and I was just downloading to her and I was like, I just watched this podcast and it's blown my mind how as a society, and again, I'm using Hallie as a beautiful example, but this she is the example. Take her name out, put any other in of an OnlyFans girl, right? And again, power fucking to them. I get asked all the time, what do I think about OnlyFans or this sex work? Good on them. It's their body, their choice. If that's the route that they want to take, would I ever do it? Never. Do I judge them? Absolutely not. But if we are going to, as a society, make these women famous, which we do with our time currency because you watch their stuff, with currency because you share their stuff. So when they promote something or like you buy it or because you're promoting them, ultimately brands then work with them because they have such a ginormous following. If you are going to do that, and if as a society we are going to do that, can we please also make smart, educated women go viral as well? And this is where I had my aha, because I was thinking about having this conversation. I was like, nah, I'm going to leave it. And then I always go through devil's advocate myself. And then I started thinking, I was like, well, that's not necessarily true, because I follow a lot of girls, even here on the Gold Coast, Chantel Duncan, Rachel Dillon, Ashley Bynes, right? I thought, well, those girls are like businesswomen in a sense, right? Because I was like, they're not on OnlyFans. They aren't just famous for being famous. They, blah, 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 blah. But then I was like, yeah, but hang on. And I had this epiphany on the phone to Katie. And I said, but wait a minute, isn't it interesting that all of the women I myself follow, so I follow those women, so Chantel, Ashley, Rachel Dillon, who else? They're like the main ones. But I said, isn't it interesting that even the women that I follow, they're still about their body, and as they should be, because they're PTs, right? So that was their come up. So their come up was in PT, and then they blew up because it's physicality. Yet again, it is physicality. So with OnlyFans, it's women selling their bodies. With all women that ultimately I myself follow, and I thought and I do in a sense follow them from a business perspective, because they are super successful, because they have these ginormous followings and sell programs and sell brands and all the things. My aha moment was, I was like, hang on, they still actually are in the position they are in today because their come up and their fame, ultimately, quote unquote, and their influence has come from their body. It actually came from them all, like literally all of them have been PTs. And they had like massive fitness influence. So it was a physicality aspect. And then they started to like start their own brands, sell their own courses, etc. And now cut to me following them today. And I said to Katie, holy shit, as a society, we are literally only ever sincerely making really, really fit people or really, really uncouth, unedited, authentic, sexualized people famous. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. And then the brilliant, and here's the thing, don't get me wrong. They deserve that. Good on them. Amazing. Follow them, love them, share their shit 1 billion%. However, I can bet my fucking dollar that at the end of the day, if you have young daughters, because I know what, if I do, or young sons, I don't follow any girls like that, like OnlyFans and rah-rah. But if I was following a Hallie, for example, I ain't putting her in front of my daughter. Not a chance. I would never want my daughter to grow up, even though I love and respect her, would I, and let this be controversial if you need it to be, but would I want my daughter to grow up and look at a woman like that and go, oh, wow, because this is who we are as a society. Currency is follows and likes and views and all those things. Would I ever want my daughter to look at that and go, oh, if I just do drugs, fucking get drunk, like go online and tell everyone everything, who I fuck, how I fuck them, what I did, what I don't do. Like, do I want that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And so I said to Katie, as a society, we have lost the way in a sense of glorifying and following and loving people that have a physicality aspect to them, 100%, yet again. But like, we leave the educated, intelligent, motivational, inspirational women behind. And I'm a woman. We know this. I'm pussy power. I coach women. I love women. I speak predominantly women empowerment, and men, so many men are starting to listen. If you're listening, relate it to your industry, relate it to your gender, relate it to your whatever. But even you're not following the smart, intelligent, educated, motivational, inspirational women. Like, you're following the dudes that are like that. But realistically, you're looking and you're scrolling at the women of physicality. And again, I fucking love that and I respect that. I get it. I am obsessed with my health. Health is my number one priority. Health is my highest value. And I look the fuck after myself. But what the hill that I die on is education, is intelligence, is using my brain and not my body, is controlling my mind and not my impulses. And honestly, I said to Katie, I said, fuck, mate, I understand why people don't sell their soul, but in a sense sell their soul. And this was the example I gave. I said, I could get on this friends, let me tell you the stories that I have from my younger days, from a famous person I fucked, from dating and fucking in my mid-30s is wild. And I was like, oh, it'd be so fun to get on and talk about all that. And I never have. And I never did. Do you know how sad it is to me that I could do an episode, and I'm going to give you an example, that I could do an episode. And I absolutely talk about sex, and I will always talk about sex, and I love talking about sex and fucking and all of those things, but I do it still in a respectful, safe way where I'm not just like, oh, I got fucking railed last night, which is what these podcasts essentially are, again, which I love. I'd listen, right? But I'm like, why can't we have both? If we're going to celebrate that, why can't we celebrate brilliant, intelligent, motivational, educational, also voices and minds, and celebrate physicality, but also mentality, mindset, brains. So brains and beauty. Why can't we have both? And when did we stop prioritizing brains over beauty and or putting them at fucking least on the same playing level field, right? And so I said to Katie on the phone, I said, sis, imagine I could flip my whole brand in a day and blow up and get fucking and get the following and do all the things which I would never do. But I'm like, and start to talk more crass essentially and show more body. I might lose 50% of you, absolutely. But who cares, right? Because then I'd gain 1 million more. And that's the mind. I'm telling you right now, when I look at this and I talk to youth, I had them in my fucking house for 7 days straight, talking to the girls. They themselves, because I talk every time I meet a youth. I'm like, what do you think the problems are facing you today? And they're like, social media. 100% social media. So where I'm going with this essentially to be like, Anna, fuck, you're right, actually. And if you did an audit essentially, and again, if you're listening to this, you are a fan, right, of the show. So you are a woman that is celebrating brains and beauty, essentially. I'm not saying I'm beauty, but like you also might follow fitness influencers or Hallie or follow like the OnlyFans, like you like watching the OnlyFans, you know, the girls that fucking count their money and stuff, because that came up for me the other day as well. And I'm like, who is this Australian girl? And again, good on her. Over 1 million followers. Actually, it came up it came up on Abby Chatfield's, it came up in my explore page, like whatever Abby Chatfield's, who just needs to get off the air. But her podcast, she was interviewing this girl who again is amazing. Kayla was her name. Maybe Kayla Jade. And she, just a young Australian girl again, and she does full service sex works. Again, good on her. And she counts her money. She'll fuck men all night. She gets on her Instagram. She talks about it. And she's like, he wanted the full service. Like, I gave him the waterfall, which means she pissed all over him. And then, like, so she fully talks about it. And then she'll count her money on Instagram. And again, good on her. Like, I was like, get it, sis. If you love if you love that that's what you're doing and you're choosing that, there is no disrespect from my end and absolutely no judgment. But I look at her and I'm like, you're on there talking about fucking men and counting money, 10K. I was like, the one I saw, it was like 10K, and I think she fucked 3 or 4 men that night. And I was like, and you have 1 million followers over. This was like the other day. There'd be more now. There's probably like 1.5. And I'm like, and then here I am as a sucker out here trying to teach women how to move like they love themselves, eat like they love themselves, think like they love themselves, working my ass off in a respectful, like hard work ethic way, which I should be and I always will. And you're not celebrated and you're not supported in a sense. And you don't go viral because you've got brains and not beauty, essentially, right? So you're not selling sex. I'm not selling sex. I'm not selling money. And that's another thing. Coaches online. So this is the other thing. So you could go, yeah, I could rattle off a couple of women that I know that I follow, again, for brains, because business, that earn so much money and are shared and all the things, but it's because they promote money, right? So they're basically promoting that work with me because I charge $60,000 a client. I'll help you do the same. It's like the pyramid scheme of coaching. That's what I call it. I've done a whole podcast on this itself. And again, it's because if you're not selling your body, money, or sex, you don't go viral. And that's just the fucking truth. And this is the epiphany I had the other day. So if you are listening to this and you have a young daughter or a young son or whatever else, and you are like, yes, because it is true. If it hasn't landed for you yet, go and spend some time looking up what I'm talking about. Go and look at these accounts. Go and look at these women, and without judgment, and look at their following and be like, I don't get it, right? Because I don't get it. And again, prove me wrong. Like, tell me where I'm wrong. But what I'm calling out today is this culture. And all I'm saying is that if at podcasts like mine as well, again, self-promotion. I've got best friends, Shani and Lozzie, who have a phenomenal podcast as well. Lozzie is a trained psychologist, for fuck's sake. Shani is mate, that girl, Shani is probably the most humble, private woman bestie I've ever known. The success that woman has, that she doesn't talk about it because peace is privacy, right? And I respect that. But what I'm saying is they are two of, for example, of the most brilliant, amazing women that I know, intelligent, that offer so much fucking free value all of the time in their social media, in their podcasts, like myself. Take us as one example. Our podcast doesn't go, people don't share. Again, it wouldn't be this one, but it's like, if you listen to something and it's inspiring, maybe we're not selling because we don't sex or our bodies or money, but we might be selling intelligence and education and motivation and inspiration, and it hits you and you receive it and you're like, damn, that's good. And the fucking DMs I get daily, which I'm obsessed with and keeps me going, of you have changed my life, would be written into a fucking encyclopedia volume, which is so humbling and so honoring. And yet, if I scroll through, which I've started to do, their DMs with me, I'm like, and yet you never share a podcast episode. I've never been mentioned by you. And yet you're saying I've changed your life, right? And this was my aha moment. I was like, we as a society have to do better. And again, absolutely unapologetic self-promotion in sharing women that are trying to inspire using your brain over your body and coming from a place of inspiration and motivation and education and intelligence versus sex, money, or body, and celebrating and sharing their stuff as much as the other side. Do both. Yes, and both. Always. But please start to actually celebrate brains and celebrate inspiration and celebrate motivation, not over, as well as the other side that I'm so aware of now. And it's just blown my mind more than ever. And so if you can take anything from this episode, in days and weeks and months and years to come, when you hear something or find something or listen to something or see something online from a woman like me or a man like whomever, but a woman like me or women like my best friends, and it hits and you're like, damn, that's good. Instead of scrolling on, share it. That is why we show up so much. That is why we show up for free, ultimately. I don't need to do this podcast. I could get this sponsored. I don't. I could not do it. I don't sell on the podcast. So there's no reason for me to sit, but I do it because I know how much sitting and having half an hour or 1 hour to really hone in on a point serves you all so much. And again, people are like, your podcast has changed my life. And I'm like, thank you. But share it. Well, then share it, because that would help me, but other women that are trying to like do something with their life and be bigger ourselves and make more of an impact. It is always about impact for me than, not struggling, but like wading through mud some days, trying to like break through the noise of sex and money and bodies. Like I said to Katie, I was like, fuck, I have the amount of times, if I had $1 for the amount of times I've thought I should just do my PT license and start to like do more, because I already do, like I share my training every day, but that's like someone else's training. But I'm like, I know my account would blow up. And it's not about that, but it is about that in the sense that I see these women with 1 million followers that make such a fucking impact when you have that many followers, inspiring women to ultimately have no substance or start doing OnlyFans or like promote promiscuity and drug taking and drinking and fucking whatever, again, with no judgment, but that's the hill they're dying on, and good on them. And they have 1 million followers. And then you got women like myself and my besties, I'll make it personal over here, that are promoting like use your brains and like do better, be healthier, like move like you love yourself. Crickets. And that is a fundamental flaw in society. Fact. And it's only going to go get worse. And my hope and my prayer and my wish is that you listen to this episode actually and you do share it, because I do think more people need to hear this, to do an audit on their own like following, on who they celebrate, on the shit they share, and share it. Absolutely keep sharing it, whatever it is. But also go find some women that are trying to inspire and motivate and educate with brains, not bodies or money or sex, and share them. Because I can promise you, women that are using that are the women that the younger generation need in a world that is becoming so toxic and so instant gratification of sex, money, and body. We can do better. We need to do better. And I know for me, I will continue with this conversation until I see the change and we are doing better. So I will leave it there. But yeah, I really hope this episode has inspired something inside of you to be like, actually, fuck yeah, share this episode, share it in your stories, send it to friends privately. I don't care how you do it. I just care that it's done. And I'm unapologetic about that. So I will see you on the next episode. And as always, stay wild, loves. Thanks so much for listening to another episode of Anything Goes. And if today's episode gave you maybe a new perspective, a little bit of a laugh, you learned something new, or just loved our trip to Taboo Town if we went there, it would honestly mean the world to me if you could leave me some love with writing a review and sharing this episode to your socials. You have no idea how much that helps my little podcast get out in the world. If you love what you gain from these conversations weekly with me as well and want more than just listening in, come and join my inner circle. It's my monthly mastermind where for just $47 a month, the real magic happens. You get me up close, no filter, live coaching. And if you get what you get from this free podcast, imagine what you get in a paid container. Links are in the show notes, friends. And until next time, stay wild.